but you were in the ring also with Owen Hart when he fell in. I guess we're in Kemper Arena there in Kansas City, and we were on. I just looked up the card to see because I couldn't. I thought I was like one of the following matches, and I was. I was like 2 matches later. I was the one that went in, and I remember going in and telling Undertaker, who was wrestling with Steve, I believe, and telling him, Owen, something bad has happened. Something really bad's wrong. But you were in the ring with that, right?
Yeah. I was in the ring right before that match was to take place. They had a hardcore match. And so I went out to the ring to help them clear some of the debris out. There's like broken tables and all this sort of stuff. So myself, Timmy Rogers was in the ring sweeping with a broom. I was holding the top rope with my left hand, and I was kicking stuff out of the ring and heading towards that same corner. I was walking towards that corner. And there was a promo playing on the screen of Kevin Kelly interviewing Owen, the Blue Blazer. So I was kind of half watching that and half kicking this stuff out. And I heard some screaming. I didn't, again, not knowing anything. And I felt something brush against the side of my head, my shoulder. And instantaneously, that top rope that I was holding snapped out of my hand and snapped back. And I didn't know what it was. So my instant reaction was to duck. Because I didn't know what was going on. So I kind of look around and I saw that the rope was still there. I thought it didn't break. So I don't know what's going on. And I turn and I look in the corner, and there's Owen laying there face up, still in the blue blazer garb with the mask. And not putting 2 and 2 together, because I know he's supposed to descend, and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? So I called out a couple of times and there was no response. His eyes were still wide open. There was no response. But the one thing I noticed that I didn't, again, clue into was he had this mark on his forearm, on the inside of his forearm. It looked like a little scoop, like an ice cream scooper had scooped out a piece of flesh. And I'm looking, I'm going, what is going on here? And I called out, there was no response. And that's when I just started screaming to Mark Yaton, who was the timekeeper. We need help. We need help. We need help. We need help. But I didn't want to touch him either. I did, again, not knowing what was going on. And then the ring filled up with EMTs and everybody, and it was just horrifying. Again, not putting 2 and 2 together. And I didn't find out until the next day. Still to this day, I don't remember going from Kansas City to St. Louis for Raw the next day. I remember that Steve Taylor had me go to the hospital to get checked out to make sure I was okay, because I followed the stretcher out to the back and watched him put Owen into the ambulance. I was shaking. I was a mess. And somebody, at the time I used to smoke, so somebody handed me a cigarette, and I was trying to calm down, have a cigarette and stuff like that. And John D'Amico came out and said, they want you to go get checked out. I said, I'm okay. I'm okay. I need to no, go get checked out. So I went to the hospital. They just made sure I was okay and I was fine. And then John stayed with me. And again, don't remember how I got to St. Louis, but it wasn't until the next day. First person I saw was Taker when I got to the building. And he asked me if I was okay. And I said, I guess so. And he said, well, you need anything, you come to me. And I said, cool. And I'm, running into everybody. And it wasn't until I saw Jerry Lawler. And he said to me that, are you okay? And I said, yeah. He said, I don't know if you know this, but he witnessed the last apparently 20 feet of the fall. He caught it. And he said, the first thing that went through his mind is, oh my God, he's going to fall on Jimmy. And what I felt brush against me apparently was Owen. And when he told me that, that's when I just lost it. I just, and then I started feeling guilty. It's so weird to say this, that I started feeling guilty because because thinking that I could have been a part of this tragedy as well. But now I'm feeling guilty for feeling that way because a family just lost a son, a husband, a father, and I'm over there feeling fortunate. Do you know what I mean? So now my head is like a jumbled mess, and yeah, it was tough.
Wow.
It was such a crazy time, and I was in the back, and me and Ron had dressed with Owen earlier, but we didn't. We weren't there when he went out, or I don't think we were, but we dressed with him that day. And then when it happened, Vince didn't know what to do. We were on 2 matches later, and I think it's 2 matches, one or two, we're about 2 or 3 matches later. And I remember Vince just kind of saying, if you want to wrestle, wrestle. If you don't. He didn't know what to do.
Right.
There's no contingency plan really for something like that. And I don't know what the right answer was. I thought at the time, perhaps we should go on. And I still don't know what the right answer is.
No, it's easy to armchair quarterback, as they say, and say, oh, should have done this, should have done that, should have done that. But like you said, that was uncharted water. There is no right answer.
Unfortunately, that night I was in charge, and I had to be the bearer of news that go around to the town. After speaking with Vince and Kevin Dunn, we went into Vince's office along with Kevin, and they made the call to Martha, his wife, and what are we going to do? Guys are obviously visually shaken, and we got to go on with the show. So I had to be the one to go out there. And then, I mean, most of the guys, were professional and we got to do it. Some of the guys kind of gave me, well, how can we go on with the show? Come on, Brisco, how can we do this? And I said, it's not my decision. I'm just following orders like everybody else says. But we got to finish the show up. And so like most of you guys said, there was no right answer that night. It was unprecedented. Something like that happened. And fortunately, it's never happened again, and hopefully it never happens again in our lifetimes.
Amen.
Yeah, it's such a crazy time, and because we were one of the ones that went on after, and I just remember I didn't know, me and Ron, I didn't know, what to do. We kind of thought we should go on, and I think that's the thought of most of the guys that you don't want to just leave with such a that tragedy was so bad. And it's kind of like, we want to kind of at least do something, and don't know what the right answer was or what the wrong answer was. I don't think anybody. I think people would debate it forever. The people that choose to debate it, but if you were there like we were, there was not an easy answer.
No.
Well, it was not an easy night on anybody that night. The look on Vince's face, I mean, and even Kevin Dunn, who's emotionless a lot of times when things happened. I mean, Kevin was, I've never seen Kevin so emotional in my career that night also. So it was one of those things that I remember after it was all over with, Bruce and I went out to the Kansas City Marriott to wait the next morning to fly out to St. Louis. And all Bruce and I could do was sit there and look out the window. We couldn't find words to talk to each other. We're in between sobs and everything. I mean, we just didn't know what to do and how to handle it. But being around family like we're all around on those TV events, everybody backing each other up, and the next day was kind of therapy for the guys to be around each other and kind of change the direction.
Exactly like you said, Mr. B. And it's funny because that Monday in St. Louis, JR, who was head of talent relations, said, listen, if you want to go home, we'll send you home right now. And all that sort of stuff. And I told him, I think I need to be here. I felt like I needed to be there for that. And for, like you said, and I know, again, we say it a lot of times that your road family is your family. And it was true. It was never more true than that Monday night in St. Louis, where it did. It felt like we were truly a family.